It is. I like the Africa Corps can.
That might be what I get.
All right, we're on the move again here at Redoubt Productions. I'm joined alongside a humble collector and a couple of his friends. And, well, I'm finally getting the chance to go to the MAX show in York, Pennsylvania. This is an annual Militaria collector's show. I've been told about it for many years. It's apparently Christmas Day to Militaria collectors, and I've always wanted to go. Every year I end up working, can't get the day off, but this year was different. I finally got the chance to go, so there was so much to see. There's so much to see in this building. I think it's at least the largest Militaria show in Pennsylvania. I don't think it's the largest in the country, but definitely in PA, and there are some awesome items to see. Now, I'm mainly a 18th, 19th century person, don't know much about 20th, 21st century, so I'm just in awe of how much Militaria is on display. So we're just going to kind of give you a little bit of a, I guess, virtual window shopping of what was on display here, and I'll catch you in a bit. Got to give out to this pro-Teddy Roosevelt flag for Wyoming. And there was a beautiful panorama of these several airships, including the Graf Zeppelins in that panorama. And there we have a pigeon cage on display. And this hat's pretty cool. It has different corps badges from the Spanish-American War. And then we got a Prussian, I believe it was an artillery brigade flag. Very uncommon. I've never seen one before. And then that's one of a humble collector's friends. They end up getting some firearms. All right, I'll see you back at the compound. All right, so now I'm back home from the MAX show, and actually it is several weeks since the MAX show. And I gotta be quite honest, there are some items I don't remember purchasing. So this is gonna be quite interesting going through and remembering what I purchased. Starting off, I got quite a bit of different photographs of the Second World War. Just about all of them, I think with the exception of one, is relating with Nazi Germany. We'll start off right here. Got a group of German soldiers lounging in the woods. This would be an interesting photo to try to replicate with like a reenacting unit. Get up a little closer. And these couple ones are pretty interesting, actually, because they are named. So I'm assuming that this is the gentleman that's in the photo, a Walter Scherf. I'll have to do more research to confirm if that is him. Clearly, he's involved with some sort of armor division by the clothes. And there are people probably watching right now screaming in detail what unit they're attached to just by the clothes that he's wearing. I am not much of a Second World War person, especially when it comes to German stuff. Most of my knowledge of the Second World War is limited to certain American units, and I'm starting to get more and more into the Pacific theater. Nevertheless, I just am interested in the photographs. So these are not photographs of combat or anything, but definitely show a different side to the conflict. Definitely makes you remember that these people that these people that were fighting for this horrible regime were human beings that had jobs and occupations. Major Wilhelm Hergens in this photo, and this is from 1944. This is something to do with the Luftwaffe. They're doing repairs on this plane. Here we got one here. Looks like a bit of sighting mechanism right here that they're operating. And this also was taken out in the field in 1944. This one's really cool. I got this one more because of my fondness of railroad. I am a rail fan myself. There are a couple videos on the channel like the East Broad Top Railroad that confirm that. This is interesting. We got a German engineer crew. Looks like they're measuring out the circumference of the interior of the tunnel. So that is pretty cool. Pretty interesting photo. Now this one is a bit peculiar. According to the person I purchased it from, these are actually free women in the Soviet army who had just been captured by German soldiers. Now, looking closely, there's not a lot for me to go off of. That these are definite Soviet POWs. And to be quite honest, does not look like they're in the worst of spirits, but I could be mistaken, of course. Should just be going off their expression in the photos. So this is reportedly a photo of women that were serving for the Soviet army that had been captured by the Germans. And if that's the case, most likely they did not survive the war. And then this one here, this is actually from the Pacific Theater, and this is pretty cool. It comes with the caption underneath. I love getting photos with the caption from people like the Associated Press. In this case, the International News photos give you a bit of a description of what's reportedly happening. This was coming from Manila in the Philippines. An injured Filipino woman, pain etched on her face, is removed from the combat zone area in Manila in a wicker basket. One of the Filipino mercenary workers uses his one good hand. The other he carries in a sling. In background is the ruins of what once was their home. Gotta be careful starting to rip. Alright, now we're going to start moving on to some more bigger items, more hard items. And no, I did not get a cat at the Max show. That's just Ash trying to photobomb me here. You want to say hi to the crowd, Ash? No, you're just going to look off camera. Oh, hello. Alright, I'm going to have to remove you now. So, moving to our harder assets, I guess is what we'll say. I picked up this medal, which was authorized by the Japanese government in 1906 in recognition for people that served in the Russo-Japanese War. The Russo-Japanese War was a very short war. It was essentially Japan and Russia's Spanish-American War, for it was a very short conflict and saw a complete power shift on the world stage, much like how America wiped out much of the wooden Spanish fleet. The Japanese, with their newer metal fleet of warships, was able to easily take out the more obsolete Russian warships. So this medal was authorized for recognition for service in the Japanese Army and Navy at the time. I don't know how uncommon these are. On one hand, this was a short-lived war, but on the other hand, it was a very important war to be a part of, and I'm sure everybody wanted some recognition for serving in this great event in Japanese history. So it comes in a really cool wooden case. I'll show you the cover. It's a pretty cool wooden case. And then more up close with the metal. And actually has some backing to it as well. So we're just going to keep rolling here. This is a pamphlet that was issued out to United States soldiers at the outbreak of the Second World War. Stop and read, History and Wit of War by those who fought it. So these are reportedly tips given by previous soldiers in military service about how to survive the military. So there's some interesting things. I actually gave this to a person I know in our local historical society who is a veteran of the Second World War. He definitely got a kick out of reading this. He thanked me very much for having the opportunity to look back through this. So interesting tips on how to survive war from people who fought in late 19th and early 20th century conflicts. Something also important, interesting to point out is you'll notice for the pages, they're cut very low. Let me see if I can find a good example. Oh, and I gotta be careful, the book's falling apart. Yeah, there's a good example there where how low it's been cut. So that's just showing you how quickly they were mass producing little pamphlets like this. They were working so fast that some of the text is falling off the pages. I think that adds to the charm of the item. Now, one of the events of the Second World War I am confident with my knowledge on is the bombing of Pearl Harbor, the attack on Pearl Harbor, which led me to purchase this little item. It's a pendant for the USS Utah, which is a Florida-class dreadnought battleship. I believe 1908, 1909 is when she entered the service in the U.S. Navy. Now, by the time of the 1940s, she was no more than a target ship used to train new Navy servicemen on how to run guns and things like that. However, she did have a crew that operated on her ship, and during the attack, she was sunk. I believe 50 plus people died as a result of the sinking of the USS Utah, and she is one of 2 ships that have remained in the harbor since their sinking. Of course, the other being the battleship Arizona. I don't think the public has access to the Utah Memorial. I believe you have to get special permission, as access to it is on Ford Island, which is still an active naval base. But nevertheless, this is a cool memento from the USS Utah in her heyday. 22,000 tons. Now let's switch to some gears to a forgotten conflict, a Spanish Civil War. I got here 2 items from Franco-era Spain, when Spain went full nationalist. We got this very lovely hat here. I believe this is post-Spanish Civil War. I believe during the Spanish Civil War, these guys had a mixture of red and gold. I think they just went straight red in the 1940s. So this is Second World War era for nationalist Spain. This fatigue cap is. Then we also got over here something really interesting. This is actually a ID card for the Nationalist Party in Spain. I've actually done one video on the Spanish Civil War. It was about the Battle of the Ebro, the largest battle of the Spanish Civil War. It was an episode of Construction Paper Battlefield. A very interesting conflict to get into. It was the Spanish Civil War, in my eyes, essentially was the Western world's failed attempt to hopefully let fascism cool off. I think a lot of people were assuming that if we just left fascism get into Spain, let them deal with that matter. If they lose, oh well, that'll cool the tensions at least. So it was a bit of a proxy war. There was the international brigades, volunteers from the United States, from Great Britain, and from other Western countries that got involved fighting on behalf of the Spanish Republic. Then you had nationalist Spain, which was being backed by Nazi Germany. Ultimately, the nationalists won, and Spain, I believe, was under a dictatorship for about 30 years afterwards. Now, this case, the gentleman who I purchased it from, I believe he personally had gone and collected the buttons, the pewter offering dish, and the stripper clips. They all come from the Philippine Islands. The other items, he said, he added for effect, so they are from the time period, just not from the dig site. He unearthed these. So all these items are pertaining to the Philippine Islands during the Second World War. So I'm pretty cool. This will be a cool starting point to start developing battlefield relics from the Second World War. Cool starting point. We saved the biggest item for last, and I hate to cheat you guys, but it's not coming out of the bag anytime soon, and I'll explain why. This is a silk Japanese flag. You can see right there it is. There's some of the red to prove that it's actually a Japanese flag. The person I purchased this off of told all they known about it was that they found it in an attic in California a number of years ago. Most likely the home had been at one time owned by a veteran, or the family owned it, had a veteran that fought in the Pacific Theater. So I'm taking a hunch that this was brought back from the Pacific Theater. If not, maybe it was purchased post-war. Either way, it definitely comes from the time period, because the silk, you can, every time you move it slightly, you could hear it's falling apart. So it's a pretty haggard flag, but it's a massive flag, and I have plans for it. What I'm going to hopefully do is I'm going to get it matted in a large frame, and I'm going to put it downstairs in the history room, and I think I'm going to actually have it lit from the bottom looking up, so that should add for a pretty ominous effect, like it's inside a bunker. Because let me tell you, my history gallery is very darkly lit. Some of that's intentional to preserve some items down there, and also it's unintentional. It's just it's an old parlor room. It's kind of hard to light nowadays. So I'm hoping to do a lot to preserve this flag. For the time being, it has to stay put in the bag, lest it fall apart completely. So that's going to wrap up the haul from Max. I decided to do this video because Humble Collector, who invited me on the trip to the Mac show, he always does an annual haul and haul video, and I will leave a link to that to see what he ended up purchasing. But I figured it'd be cool to also get more into detail what I end up bringing home from it all. This was my first time getting to go, as I've mentioned for the video. I'm not the biggest person when it comes to collecting stuff in the 20th century. I'm definitely more 19th, 18th century oriented. So this was a lot of fun. Definitely getting exposed to new elements of the militaria collecting community. So learn a little bit, hope to learn more. Hopefully you've enjoyed getting to see what I've added to the collection. And yeah, that's all. Thank you for watching. Be sure to subscribe. We also have a Ko-fi page open, so if you want to buy me a cup of coffee, you may go down to the link below, go to Ko-fi.com, WWII Productions, and you can help the channel out by buying me a cup of coffee for every morning. Enjoy the rest of your day, folks.